In terms of the question that was asked here, who do we believe? I mean, it's very difficult to answer that. I think, especially from afar, when all you're getting is what's coming through on social media and the statements you read and everything else, I think it's very difficult to actually determine who you believe, because everybody's got their own agenda and everyone's got their own story. I don't know which side you favour on this, but
I think it's true that probably Calenda had already a deal with Juventus last summer, and that would explain why Keita suddenly didn't go to the training camp this summer without any things popping out, because he was playing with Inzaghi. Inzaghi always trusts him, and I believe Lazio tried, especially at the beginning, to make an offer of contract. But so I think they're both lying a little bit, but I don't believe that in the last period Tare or Lotito didn't try to make an offer to Keita to renew the contract.
I mean, it would be crazy. It would be absolutely crazy on their part to not have addressed this at any stage. I mean, it's already a complete shambles that you've got a situation like this where three key players have deals running out within a year. That's why you have a sporting director, isn't it? To make sure these situations don't arise. And yes, there are certain circumstances around that are unpreventable, I suppose, in terms of players wanting a way out and so on, but it shouldn't really come to this. And
the thing is, there are different situations. Biglia, Lazio offered him a contract this January, and he agreed but didn't sign it. Here it's the agent of Keita that has problem with Lazio, so they never reach an agreement. Again, with De Vrij, Lazio tried to make a move, but De Vrij said he had to think about it. And I tell you this, still Strakosha didn't renew. What happens if Strakosha next season had another very good season and he still haven't renewed the contract? Maybe a big club from Premier League could come and offer him a big salary, and Lazio would be forced to sell him and get little money because he has just 1 year of contract left.
Yeah, and this is why it's actually such a relief that they have managed to get Milinkovic-Savic tied down on a new deal, which is, I think the importance of that has gone under the radar a bit with everything else that's been going on, but that's such an important move to have taken place this summer, because they managed to actually get him to do it at the right time, and hopefully hold on to him. But while we're talking about Keita and Lucas Biglia as well, I think we should bring up at this stage this poll that's been running this week about would you agree to sell Keita and Biglia for 50 million euros to AC Milan, which has been the offer that's been on the table. And it's really tight, actually, and people have had very different views on this. I mean, it's been 54% yes in the end and 46% no. I'll read out a few of the comments we've got, and then we'll get around to finding out what our opinions are about this. Mark Adams said it's at Biglia's age, it's crazy not to take that money. Paul McGuinness, 50 million for two players who don't want to sign new contracts and can talk with clubs in January is fantastic money, but it must be reinvested. Greek Laziale said 50 is okay. I disagree with Milan as a choice. I wouldn't have an issue if it was Fiorentina or Atalanta. I doubt it'd be 50 million in that case.
I think we both agree on that. AC Milan is not the perfect fit for us, but they're the only one willing to pay that price.
Well, that's the thing. I think basically from the comments we've got here, that the overall consensus is that yes, 50 million is quite a good amount of money to get. But, well, actually, apart from Rami Algendi here, who writes that, of course not, that's so low. Keita is only 22, 50 million for him alone. Maybe yes, and Biglia 20 million. I think that's unlikely to happen. But I think the problem for me here is really just the fact of, and I've mentioned this before, that you cannot really hope for the club to kind of develop and push further up the league if you're going to sell your key players to rivals. And we're not talking about Atalanta and Fiorentina, which is unrealistic, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind so much if this offer was coming from Juventus, because realistically, Juventus, for Lazio's objectives, are too far ahead to really be considering catching. whereas Milan are a club who's finished behind us last season in the league, a club that are going to have a lot of investment going in this summer. In terms of wanting a top four finish, that's your direct competition you're talking about. So I don't really care how much money they're offering. I think that it's just the actual basic sense of, as a football club, what are you trying to do? You're trying to finish as high up the league as possible, and the last thing you should do is strengthen your rivals. And fair enough, one player on the right deal, Lucas Biglia, going there for 25 million, fine. But if you're gonna sell two of our best players from last season to a rival club, I think it's crazy. I think it's absolute terrible management.
I totally agree with you. The problem is that AC Milan is the only one coming with that money, and they already made a deal with Biglia, and we don't have to make the same mistake that Lazio made 2 years ago of keeping players that want to leave. And if Biglia and Keita wants to leave, then you have to sell them. That's the problem if you don't renew the contract. Now, the news that happened is that as Keita is still thinking if accept Milan offer, because he was hoping to finish with Juventus. Now AC Milan is thinking of withdraw the offer and not buy even only Biglia. So now there's the chance that both player, or at least Biglia, could stay with Lazio next season. And the point I make is, I'm not happy if Biglia has to stay just because Milan didn't finalize the offer. I'm not happy because player has to stay with the club only if they're happy to stay. So Biglia stays and sign a new contract, renew the contract, and prove that he's happy to stay with Lazio. Otherwise, I will find, if I was Tare, I would look for another team possible outside Italy to sign Biglia.
Yeah, but I mean, if the deal fell through with Biglia here, I mean, like we've said before, there's still so much of this market left to go, and if you have a player with the quality of Lucas Biglia, who is regarded as being for sale more or less, then within that transfer market you would expect somebody to come in for him at some point. And I disagree with the idea that this offer has to be accepted just because Milan are the ones who are offering it. I think if you allow the transfer market to play out for a bit longer, then it will happen. The only problem there is that kind of contradicts what I've said last week, which is that you want the squad to be built as soon as it can possibly be, so to give Inzaghi the best chance of actually knowing what he's working with. And so you don't really want to be playing a waiting game. But that's the horrible thing about the transfer market every summer, is that you're kind of playing these games which make it very difficult for the coach to actually do his job.
Yes, absolutely. It's difficult. That's why maybe it's better to sell him directly now to AC Milan. That is a competitor, so it's a problem. But then you have time and money to find a very good replacement, and as well find a Vice Immobile that Lazio's missing. But we'll see how things plan out. There's still this mystery about AC Milan, if they're going to really withdraw the offer for Biglia, and see what happened with Keita, because then you still have Keita. The news are that Juventus made an offer, 12 million plus Turaro for Keita. I think that's not enough for Keita. But the problem is the club already have a deal with the player. Keita looks like he wants to go to Juventus. So it's going to be complicated. And I don't think keeping Keita 1 year not playing, it's going to be useful for both. For Keita, not for sure, but even for Lazio would be a waste of talent and not money to buy another player like Muriel.
And I tell you what, of all the players Juventus could offer us in exchange, if we end up with Stefano Mauri, I'm not going to be very happy. He's a decent, useful
Average
player,
player,
but
yes.
to have him as to bring down the price that much, to have a player like that is nonsense. But in terms of there's just to bring back to another poll we've done, which is about the players who have been linked with Lazio, who'd be the best replacement for Biglia. Unfortunately, when we do these polls, you can only have 4 options. So we do understand that there are more than 4 options on the table here, but we went with the kind of 4 most likely or kind of most widely reported ones, I suppose, which is between Martin de Roon, Daniele Baselli, Milan Badel, and Davy Klaassen. And it's Davy Klaassen who's won it. It's 35%, and it's not that much between him and Baselli and Bedell, actually, and De Roon is down on 12%. The thing is that De Roon actually looks like being the most likely one to come in at this stage.
I'm not sure about that, because Vincenzo Morabito, that is a FIFA agent I trust a lot, said just Friday night that it looks like there have been a discussion with Tare, and Tare said, I don't like De Roon, so he's not going to be coming to Lazio, even though I read all the rumors of the latest day saying that they already find a deal with the player and the club. So, but you never have to trust the rumors, especially in Italy. So, and the thing is, I love all those players. Klaassen is improving a lot. He could be a really, really nice fit for Lazio. He's young. He's improving. Baselli already know the football, the Italian football. And as you remember, last week there were a lot of rumors saying, he's out because he's renewing with Torino. Well, a week passed and still no sign of renew of Baselli with Torino. So this is a sign saying that probably it's not that the deal is not done with Torino, so he's still on the market. Bagel as well is another player interesting that already knows Serie A, so it could be a nice fit. So we'll see what happens. One thing very important that people must forget is that it's not true, as some website and newspaper are saying, that Lazio have to sell before buying. Lazio this year made a nice income thanks to the final of Coppa Italia, thanks to Seleco sponsorship, etc. Has 30 million euros to spend on top of the sales they will make with Biglia, Keita, etc. So it's not true that Lazio have to wait to sell Biglia and Keita before making the moves. Of course, that's going to influence the movement Lazio will make. But don't think that Lazio have to wait to sell before buying.
Yeah, and going back to what you were just saying about Baselli, I think if there's one thing we've surely learnt at this point, it's not to believe rumours of players signing contracts until it happens. I think that in terms of these options, it's pretty much comes back to what we were saying last week when we were talking about Cataldi and Murgia, which is that yes, they're all good players, but none of them are, in my eyes, going to really do the same job that Biglia does. So it is going to have to be a kind of a reshuffle in that midfield. I do like De Roon, actually. I wouldn't be against that move, and because Middlesbrough have been relegated and so on, you'd expect that you'd hopefully be able to get him on a kind of cut price, but you wouldn't want to bring him in and say that's that position covered now, because I'd quite like to see two of these four players coming in, and that for me, even if the deal doesn't go through, that's quite sensible shopping to go into that kind of market where you've got talented players who've been relegated or at the wrong club.
I like De Roon, honestly, and I agree with you that maybe two should come, because they're not able to do what Biglia was doing, so defend and offend. But that's the news I've got about De Roon and Lazio, so we'll see what happens. It could be that Inzaghi maybe love him so much that will convince Tare. We'll have to see. Transfer market is just started, and already hundreds of players have been linked to Lazio, so Balotelli, Ibrahimovic, De Roon, it's not the last one. We're going to have to see what happens. And we know that, for example, Atalanta wants to renew Berisha, so Lazio will have to discuss with Atalanta to find a deal there. Cataldi maybe could go to Genoa still, or could be linked to other clubs in Italy. So we'll have to see what plans out. One thing very important, Tare was this week in Milan. Everybody was convinced that he was going to talk with AC Milan. This didn't happen, so probably Tare was there to talk with the club about a signing. Still no announcement was made, but we know he didn't talk with AC Milan, so he wasn't there for Biglia Keita. He was there probably to talk with an agent or a club for a new signing. So that's good news, because I think Lazio's moving, even though they still didn't sell Keita and Biglia, and De Vrij is still a mystery. Stefano Mauri was at Formello this week. He said that he has an appointment with Lotito and Tare. That's going to happen in the next week. Alistair, where do you see Mauri fit in this Lazio? Not on the field, I presume, but where?
I think he's our new Vice Immobile. Well, I hope not. Well, I don't know. I mean, this is kind of it's come as a bit of a surprise to me, to be honest. I mean, quite a nice surprise. I do really like Stefano Mauri.